If I may ask, how many of you in this room have completed reading at least 5 books this year? Wow, impressive. I see some hands. Now I'll pose another question. How many of you, from the books that you have read, are books written by Tanzanian authors? Am I seeing clearly? Few hands. But that's fine. This tells me that I have the right audience to share my message with today. But before diving into my message, I'll tell you a story. In a small Tanzanian town called Tabora, grew up a young lady who was so fond of books. Her life has been full of imagination and creativity. She would never have imagined herself elsewhere other than diving into short story books. Her favorite one being Cinderella and the Stepsisters. Though in her school there was no library, this young girl was graced to be raised by a responsible mother who was a primary school teacher and a supportive father who was a pastor. Every evening during the family prayer time, this young girl couldn't wait for a turn to read some verses from the Bible. And every time she read out loud, she felt so proud of herself. I admit there was really something special about the girl's zest for reading. When her parents discovered that their daughter enjoyed reading, they did their best to provide books and the support she would request from them. At the age of 8, when this girl was in standard 3, she participated in a reading competition that was announced in her school. Though she did not come out in first place, she felt fulfilled and happy, spending her day reading and narrating a story. And of course, she went home with some coins as a reward for her participation. This young girl had a free, clear, and focused mind. After the reading competition, she was determined to read more books and got a membership ID from the Tabora Regional Library. As she went to secondary school, she read even more books and was recognized as the Reader of the Year in 2008. She kept on participating in different reading, writing, and debate competitions in and outside her school. In 2014, she was rewarded the first place winner in the National Essay Writing Competition that was held by Toweza, an open government partnership. I assure you, this young girl was determined to change the world with her literature skills. The young girl in this story is the lady standing in front of you today. And a fun fact is that as I walked up to this building in the morning, I met my headmaster's son. I was so happy. Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, Mwalimu means teacher, the founding father of this nation, once said that books are a very important way to knowledge and to self-improvement. From them, we can learn new ideas, new techniques of working, and new methods. We can learn about the development of man in all its different aspects. We can broaden our understanding of other people and even of ourselves. All the experiences of mankind, all his inventions and discoveries can be learnt about through reading. Since independence in 1961, the Tanzanian government has shown a strong commitment to providing primary education to all its children. And as a result, Tanzania achieved a significant increase in literacy level among its citizens in the early 1970s to mid-1980s. However, that literacy achievement did not last long after the introduction of the cost-sharing policy in education. Among the immediate impacts of this policy were the drop in pupils enrollment and an increase in illiteracy level. And to address this, the Tanzanian government launched the primary education program in 2005, which resulted into a significant increase in pupils enrollment in primary schools. Despite this increase in pupils enrollment, many pupils have been graduating primary schools without sufficient literacy skills. And this sets them up for a struggle in secondary school if they even advance that far. Most Tanzanian children and youth are not exposed to the culture of reading. And when children and youth do not read, they lose their sense of imagination, which is so important in creating and in innovating. This has not only affected the past and the current generation, but will also affect those of the future if nothing is done to change the narrative. I know some progress has been made, but the current situation still calls for a redress on the reading culture in Tanzania, which is posing a threat towards an envisioned, educated, and a well-knowledgeable community. In fact, it is the death of Tanzanian literature that pushed me to start my own initiative, aimed at building a society that values reading and writing amongst children and youth. Help Them Write, write as write and read, not right and wrong, is an organization that encourages young people to tell Tanzanian stories by building libraries, implementing literacy programs, and providing mentorship support to up-and-coming writers. Since being literate is considered as a basic condition for a successful schooling and for a productive adult life, Tanzanian pupils with poor literacy are more likely to be unsuccessful in achieving their life potential. And this is the main reason why Help Them Write is striving to implement its programs. Children and youth who have developed a reading culture are able to speak fluently and understand what they read from books and from different reading materials. They're also able to understand what their teachers teach in class and effectively use textbooks to improve their performance. Help Them Write has found the need to engage with children and youth to build the next generation of readers. But having readers who do not have books to read or books that they may relate to is also a challenge. Help Them Write addresses this by supporting and coaching young upcoming Tanzanian writers so that children and youth get to read books they can relate to as much as they get to explore books from these different perspectives and cultures across the world. I admit we have few precious books written by Tanzanians that are also used in Tanzanian schools. If you have gone into Tanzanian schools, you know authors like Zist Kamili, Ambilikile, the common ones, right? During my secondary schooling, I read a variety of interesting and well-written books from authors like Osman Pius of Sierra Leone, Ngugi wa Thiong'o of Kenya, and of course the African literary giant, Chinua Achebe. As much as these books told great African stories and helped me to understand and learn histories from other parts of the continent, something vital was missing from my education. What I lacked was hearing and reading stories from my own country with its many cultures and traditions. This created and perpetuated the notion that great writers come from other parts of the continent, but not Tanzania. And that there is no pride to be had in our own stories. And that there is no future in literature that is uniquely our own. My fear is that this has shut the door to reading and writing for too many children and youth in my country. But there is hope. Just this year, the Nobel Prize for Literature was awarded to a Tanzanian author, Abdulrazak Gundar, the first African author to win the award in more than a decade. How hopeful is that? I stand here today with a strong belief that there is future in Tanzanian literature. I commend and applaud the young Tanzanian upcoming writers like Gertrude Mligo, Aisha Kingu, and Idris Mavura, who are using their skills to change the narrative. I praise the work performed by different organizations and publishing companies, and also individuals who are supporting and pushing forward Tanzanian literature. The young Tanzanian generation has so many worth ideas to spread through literature and bring positive impact. Let it be a responsibility of each one of us to support this generation of young writers and readers. Let's reimagine the Tanzanian literature. Let's reimagine it as a cycle like the one I'm standing on, where writers have a point to meet with the readers, because that's how we keep it moving. Because when it's a cycle, we have readers who are writers and writers who are readers. And that's how we are going to make Tanzanian literature grow. It is possible to have a generation that values reading and writing. It is possible to have a generation that has a belief in Tanzanian literature, a generation that will see possibilities and future in our literature. Let's all together start a reading revolution. Thank you.